Hey everyone, this is Alex Milstein. I'm the editor-in-chief of Betting News Now, and this is Bet Ed Now, bite-sized bits of betting industry knowledge. Today my guest is Mike Juoni. He is the Vice President of Sales for FXI, and today we're going to be talking about how retailers can differentiate themselves by bringing new and unique product onto their floor. So welcome to the show, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Alex. I appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to have you here, especially with you. We were just talking about how busy you are getting ready for High Point, so it's nice to be able to
Yeah,
chat.
it's been a really exciting time for us in general. This week specifically, we had a great launch with a wonderful retailer, and I participated along with some of the team in some of the launch meetings and some of the training, which is a lot of fun. It's great to be proud of our product and the team, but it's anytime you get to launch with a new retailer is always exciting for us anyway. And then from there, travel down to High Point and set the showroom. And as I said, yeah, it was not the same as doing it in my 20s, but it's still a lot of fun to see it all come together.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're somebody who's on the road a lot, so that gives you a very unique perspective when it comes to what retailers are doing. So I thought it would be great to talk about how retailers can differentiate themselves with unique products on their floor. And then, we could also talk about why these products matter and
Mhm.
how retailers can effectively show them. So let's go ahead and start with, what are some things that you see retailers doing that really make their floor stand out?
Sure. It's a great question. And it's such an interesting position. Sometimes I wish I could take all of the retailers and just do these road tours with everyone. If we could all travel as a big group and just see each other's locations. And there's so much learning to be had from retailer to retailer that we are in roles like ours in a unique position to be able to get exposed to a lot of it. And I, of course, am going to be very biased to what I'm working on in our program, what we're doing here at Molecule. And when I look at the product line that we have, I feel like it provides, just as an example, some of the features and benefits that sometimes the retail sales associates, more importantly, the customers are maybe already familiar with. When we start to talk about the quality of sleep and the idea of rest and recovery, these are things that we are trying to own, but are also like this, what everybody is trying to rest better. Like whether you're an elite athlete or somebody who's not,
Right.
who's just a little sore from setting up a whole showroom, everybody wants to rest and recover better. And there are a lot of great brands out there that help achieve that. But how do you go to market with the message and bring that forward in a way that does stand out on the retail floor? The way that we've approached it is everything from the design aesthetic and then how we bring the branding forward, in addition to some of the features and benefits that, again, the customers are more familiar with, whether it's some of the things that the customers may not ask about, but the retail sales associates may understand the densities of the foam or the quality of the foam or the airflow of the foam or the PCM coating or the PE, some of the temperature management, comfort, and longevity quality of the bed. Ultimately, those are the things that we try to focus on to make sure that we're standing out in the marketplace. And then what I see as different in the market to, how about I focus on somebody else that I have some experience with? I had the wonderful opportunity to work with the team at Diamond for quite some time, and the Pennington family, they do an amazing job of building a really high quality product. One of the things that they do that is unique is partnering with the retailer to try to offer some more dynamic options. So you have a company like ours and Molecule, what we're bringing forward with, industry leading quality and componentry and aesthetics and marketing story, and bringing that forward to the marketplace broadly with a story behind it. And then you have somebody like Diamond or many other companies like them that can provide some maybe private label even options when the situation suits itself.
Yeah, definitely. Now, it seems like a big part of bringing in these products that, they have these features and benefits like you were talking about. Part of that process is educating the retailer in a way that they can educate the consumer so the
Yeah.
consumer understands this. Would you say that's a pretty important factor in all of this?
It is fair. I could see myself even in this conversation falling into the trap of like knowing the specs of our product and believing in it so wholeheartedly. It's tempting for me to talk about things that ultimately a customer doesn't care about the pound density of the foam that's in their bed necessarily.
Right.
They care about how it's going to help them sleep better and or
Hmm.
like is it going to help them if they're sleeping too warm? Is it going to help them sleep cool or is it going to cradle them differently than they're cradled now, et cetera. And so just this week in the launch that we were doing, one of the teammates, Jen Corio, a wonderful teammate, we spent a lot of time working together. She had a retail sales associate ask them almost exactly that. Like, what? This is 8 pound foam. That's amazing. That sounds wonderful, but what does that mean? Like, what is the difference? And she
Yeah.
was able to use a comparative memory foam in the marketplace that there was an actual sample of nearby. So one, they could, physically touch and feel kind of the weight, but then she could get into the story about how it was going to be able to cradle and support and provide more ultimately durability and longevity to the customer. So it was going to provide the solution that they were looking for. But what was nice with the hands-on material there, she was able to show it and really get an idea of the difference of quality when you hold those two pieces of foam. So one of the ways that we achieve it on our team anyway is simply the engagement with the retail sales associate and trying to show in very practical manner in a way that they can translate to the customer without diving into the specs. Here is something that we're proud of, but here's how it's going to help you sleep better.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
So for us, your question was, how do we make sure that the retail sales associate understands how to communicate it to a customer? And I've seen there are a lot of amazing educators, teachers, and trainers in our industry across the board at a lot of different companies. Jen's example that I gave earlier this week, we see that repeated time and time again. Even those of us that are connected on LinkedIn across different companies, there are wonderful people out there that are showing examples every day of them being in the store, working with the retail sales associate and make sure we're taking all of these amazing features and benefits and high quality specifications and translating them into a language as to why it matters to the customer. How is it going to help them ultimately sleep better?
Yeah. Okay. So what advice, I guess, would you give to a retailer who is either, trying to differentiate their store or trying to determine if they need to or how
Yeah.
they need to?
Sure. The first suggestion that I would have is to shop the competition, which sounds really, really basic, but sometimes the most important things that we can do in our roles is step back and get back to basics or the blocking and tackling or whatever kind of business cliche you want to put behind it is that, like, don't forget that your customers are not only shopping online and doing an extensive amount of that research before they get to the stores, but they are still in all likelihood visiting, at least a few different locations in all likelihood before they make their decision. So if you are not understanding what those few locations carry and how your floor is either nearly identical in a lot of cases, or better yet, how it may be different. So the first thing I would suggest is to shop the competition in your area. Make sure that you understand what's being carried out there and how it's being presented so that you can be sure that you understand your consumer's perspective, your customer's perspective when they walk in your door. What may they have seen already? What may have they heard already so that you can help support the messaging properly. As far as looking how to differentiate themselves, it is my suggestion that people, again, as much as possible, get out of their store to get to somewhere. We just discussed High Point and setting up there. High Point's a great example. Vegas Market, the other industry shows that are put on, whether it's through the buying groups or other opportunities that you have to get out there and see what other options are available to you that may not be kind of the mainstream options that tend to be kind of more broadly placed across. When you look across the entire country and go from floor to floor to floor, there are a lot of consistencies. And so if you're looking to differentiate yourself from those consistencies, the best place to find them is to get involved in the industry by going to the markets, whether that be High Point or Vegas or some of the other industry shows that are available, and just looking at what's out there in the marketplace. So because there are a lot of really great options that may not be part of the mainstream that come with some really powerful in-store support, that come with some really powerful marketing messages and branding behind them, and things that can help you do the things that are going to drive the business forward, increase your traffic, increase your ticket, increase your close rates, and a lot of cases also increase your margins from what are becoming industry standard.
I think that's a really great point. How are you supposed to know what different is if you don't know what's out there? And, if you're just kind of living in this bubble, working in this bubble, it's not great for retail business. So that's great advice.
I've been in the industry quite a long time. And when someone is in a retail store or a retail operation, regardless of scale, the focus tends to be so much on that retail operation and making it as amazing as it can be. And a lot of people do a wonderful job of that. But there's also a possibility that by looking inside of those same four walls, whether those four walls are across 1,000 units or one unit, you can maybe become a little bit blind to not necessarily looking at the options that are out there in the marketplace that might be able to add a little bit of spice and life to your floor that might not exist today.
Yeah, absolutely agree. All right. Well, with that, I think that's good for today. So I appreciate you taking the time today, Mike.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Alex, anytime you want to reach out, I look forward to seeing you at High Point.
Yeah. Yeah. Always nice to see you. I'll definitely see you there.